I think it goes without saying that Stewart Copeland is one of the most iconic rock drummers that has come along in recent history. Such a huge impact on the instrument and how it's viewed in a rock setting, and you can see that all the way into, well, even most recent bands, as take for instance 21 Pilots, and the way Josh Dun approaches playing with that group. And so his emphasis can be seen across rock music, and he is one of my personal faves when it comes to the classic rock genre. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. There are going to be some more coming along in this vein that are talking about Stewart and his playing, and I'm really pumped to do it. This particular lesson is going to be on 5 drum beats that Stewart plays within different songs that that floored me the first time I heard them, and still when I hear them I think they're just genius. And there's a couple of common themes that weave through them. Before I go any further, the sheet music is available, and there will be some extras in that sheet music that I'm not really going over in this, some extra bars, some fill type ideas that you can do grabbing from there. That link is below and is there for you if you need it. So the first one we're going to look at is going to be Hole in My Life. Now, this song, I still remember one of the first times I heard this song. I had it, I think as most people, I had it completely turned around as to where 1 was, and then it comes into this groove later into the song that really lets you know, oh wow, I had that flip the whole entire time. I remember I was driving down the interstate. I remember specifically where I was when I heard it, and I'm like, wait a second, what just happened? Now I had to flip back to the beginning of the song, so I think that you'll have the same experience. I focused on mostly his time with the Police in this lesson and in future lessons on him, because that's really when the most iconic bulk of his work was done, and whenever he kind of splashed onto the scene. So I'm going to focus there, because if not, we could chase rabbits all day on different projects that he's done. So let's check out this groove. So first we need to look at this tempo. The quarter note is going to be around 143, so it's going to be moving very much that post, punk type of tempos, you know, kind of coming out of that. They did kind of split off from that time period. So we have the hi-hat on 1 and 3, and then we're going to have a flam on 4. Okay, so let's get that part down first. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? This is a deceptively easy groove because of the placement and the fill that he does coming into this, which I actually cover that intro fill in another lesson series coming out on some Stewart Copeland drum fills. So it's just really great how he drops into this groove. Now we're going to put the kick drum on 2, and so we still have a very simple groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, with a lot of what Stewart plays, it's not necessarily how complicated it is, it's the placement that makes it seem much more complex.
Look, why can't you just play a backbeat? And because I was a spoiled brat, I don't want to play a backbeat.
Now on that 2, we're gonna hit for all intents and purposes, the 2nd and 3rd tom, depending on what setup he had at the time, but the 2nd and 3rd tom. And we're gonna hit that with a swung type of a feel. All right, it's gonna goom, doom, doom, back, doom, goom, goom, back. That's how it feels, okay? So you can look at that as the 1st and 3rd triplet partial of beat 2, or you can look at it as swung 8th notes. In the notation, it's gonna be the 1st and 3rd triplet partial of beat 2. So we're gonna have beat 2 a double stop here on the tom, so it's gonna go 2, and then on the 3rd triplet partial, or the upbeat if you're swinging those 8th notes, we're gonna play the and here. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we add that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a 2-bar groove in that in the 2nd measure, he's going to hit that 2nd note here. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 2nd measure will go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now the next thing you need to do is get it up to tempo, and then you gotta listen to this song enough to understand where the one is, because this will throw you off and those toms will feel like one. The tom will feel like one, the snare flam will feel like three, until later in the song whenever it flips around and you realize, oh, I've been feeling that wrong the entire song. So let's get this thing up to tempo. Now in the sheet music there is actually a fill option that I also put in there, so download that and be sure and check out that fill option. The next song, we're just gonna kind of skate through these. It's an all skate, right? Just like, anybody else go to the skating rink when they were growing up? No? Okay. So this is going to be kind of an all skate. We're just going to go through this and really cover these grooves. The second one is by another one of my favorite tunes of theirs, Murder by Numbers. I'm not going to get into the history of any of this stuff. I'm just going to simply go into it because we're looking at his style. Remember, he mixes those reggae roots, those ska type roots, and he brings them and mixes them in with what the Police do. So in here we have this in a different type of a feel. It's in a 12/8 feel. Some of you may count it in a 6/8, but to me it's 12/8 because that's how the phrasing is. And it's actually deceptively simple what he does. So he's playing the 12/8 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. On the kick drum in Murder by Numbers, he's going to play on the 4, and then he's also going to play on the 6, 7, 8, 9, if that makes sense. Or if you're counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, he's playing on the 2 and the 4. But this is a if you will, a 6/8-ish, 12/8-ish type of a feel. And so it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12. That's how this is notated. Now, the genius here is what he does with that rim click that throws us off and makes us not understand where the downbeat is. It's just deceptive what he does, all right? It's sneaky. What he does is he plays every other triplet partial starting on the upbeat of 1 on the rim click. So it goes 1, 2, 3, and then he plays the next, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and puts the kick drum on 2 and 4. I'm counting those in chunks of 4, just so that you can, or chunks of 3, so counting 2 4s, just so it's easier to understand that, all right? That's how I'm going to count it, but it's notated in 12/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slow that down with the rim click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he'll even bring in a note before that downbeat of that kick drum just to confuse things even a little bit more. All right, so this is going to be the 8th note, which is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be around 292, 293. So let's get this up to tempo and see what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, he will confuse even more where the 1 is by the hi-hat lifts that he does, by where he's placing the kick in other parts of the beat. And so that's what I love about what he does, is it's not always overly complex. When you look at it, you're like, wow, that's actually not such a hard part. It ties together really naturally. It's actually pretty intuitive, but the way that they placed it and the way it makes the song feel is just, that's where his genius lies.
I don't want to play a backbeat.
And anytime we talk about the Police or Stewart Copeland, Copeland, we have to talk about the iconic ROXANNE, right? We have to break apart that groove. Again, another simple groove. That's what's great about these. Even if you're a beginner, intermediate player, you can grab these grooves. It's just the placement of them, and it's really what he leaves out of the groove that makes them so magical. So here in ROXANNE, he leaves out 1, and that's what gives it that feel. So we have 8th notes here, right? We're in 4/4, so we have 8 notes here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and again, these are those post-punk type of tempos that we were seeing during that time that this came out. So it's around 134. They started out as a punk band, right? And so they've still maintained that energy. So around 134, we have 2 and 4 on the snare drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have a raise, a hi-hat lift on the and of 4. So a pretty standard rock beat so far. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We put it on the downbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's a pretty standard rock groove, right? But he doesn't do that. What he does is he waits. I don't know why I scratched my nose while I said that. Ooh, I don't know what that even means. He avoids 1, lifts that hi-hat on 4, avoids 1, comes in on the and of 1 and the downbeat of 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's great. All of his entrances are on the upbeat of 4, so it gives it that Police feel, that reggae rock vibe that he was so known for.
I couldn't name any reggae drummers.
So let's put this up to tempo and see what it sounds like. All right, again, so the things that are really kind of recurring themes in this are avoiding 1 on these grooves. That just makes them feel odd. Putting the emphasis on the 4 or the and of 4, and then really the sparseness, what he takes away from these grooves is really, it's just really clever with what he does. So the next one is going to be Wrapped Around Your Finger. Around the 205 mark is the groove that I'm going to be breaking out. And so if we look at that point, the groove is going to be, again, a simple groove. We have a hi-hat lift on 1, so 1, 2, 3, a rim click on 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Now he lets that hi-hat usually lift until 2. Sometimes he'll do or sometimes he'll do open on 1 and then an accent on that 2. Okay, it just depends on what portion of the song we're in. But for these purposes, I'm going to raise it on 1, and then we have a rim click on 4, and then the kick drum comes in on the and of 2 and the downbeat of 3, and that's what gives it that off-kilter feel. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrapped Around Your Finger is around 128 BPM, so let's put it to a click. 1, 2, 3, Last but not least, we have this 5th one. It's going to be the verse groove of King of Pain. I love this groove. I've loved this groove for such a long time. Again, he takes that typical 4 on the floor rock groove and does something so simple. So the essence of the groove is quarter notes here on the hi-hat. Sometimes he'll throw 8th notes in there, but for the most part, we're gonna make the base of the groove quarter notes on the hi-hat, 2 and 4 on the snare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again, there's nothing really unusual about that, but remember, avoid that 1, okay? So then he's going to raise the hi-hat on 3 and 4. So coming in on the upbeat of that 1 or coming in on the upbeat of 4 makes that a strange entrance, right? So there's no crash on 1. And then here's the thing that he does that completely mixes the groove up and really gives it an off-kilter feel. He puts the kick drum on the upbeats of the 8th note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 1 And then, of course, the groove is around 125 BPM, so we go ahead and put that to a click. Let's see what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have it, 5 quick grooves by Stewart Copeland, 5 drum beats that I think really define his style, really give you a good overview of what he does when he approaches these grooves that make them so unusual. That's what we need to look at when we're looking at players. What are they doing that makes them them? Why was that so different? What were they doing? They're bringing those punk, ska, and a lot of reggae influence into rock drumming. And that's what was so different about that time. Besides Topper Headon, who was playing for the Clash, there weren't other drummers that were really doing this on a large scale. They were the first 2 bands that did this on like, arena size scale, where they're the Clash with Topper Headon and then the Police with Stewart Copeland, where they're mixing these reggae vibes with this rock thing, these ska grooves, reggae grooves, and mixing that in with the rock. So anyway, I just wanted to point those out to you, give you a little overview of the style. Go listen, 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 listen. We can debate all day, but really the proof is in the pudding. You got to go listen. And what is your favorite Stewart Copeland groove? Put that, I did this like way too soon, so it's like very awkward moment. What is your favorite Stewart Copeland drum beat? Put that in the comments section below as well. If this helped you, give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody you think it may help. Be sure and check out the others that I have coming and on the channel as well. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. Download that sheet music because there's some extra stuff in there that I haven't even broken down, and here's some extra measures. So you'll be sure and want to check those out. But whatever you do, I'll see you here in the next lesson. Go listen to some Police.